Florida Governor DeSantis, I'm sorry, that was totally unprofessional, and conservative entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy are tied for second place in the Republican presidential field in a new poll. At Emerson College, polls showed DeSantis and Ramaswamy tied at 10% each, trailing former President Trump, who leads with 56%. DeSantis kept his position in second place from previous polls, but he registered a big drop from the 21% he had in June. Ramaswamy rose from just 2% then. The poll's release comes as a leaked memo from the super PAC supporting DeSantis' candidacy, Never Back Down, urged DeSantis to take a sledgehammer to Ramaswamy. Some polling has shown Ramaswamy closing on DeSantis for second place, and the memo appears to acknowledge a few other candidates also gained momentum behind the Florida governor. Another boring establishment attack from Super PAC creation, Robot Ron, who is literally taking lame pre-programmed attack lines against me for next week's debate. Hammer Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy responded to the memo on X, formerly known as Twitter. Emerson College polling executive director Spencer Kimball said in a release that Ramaswamy has made improvements in voters with postgraduate degrees, taking 17% of the group, with younger voters winning 16% of those younger than 35. Meanwhile, DeSantis dropped in his support among postgraduates voters from 38% in June to 14% now, and only had 15% of those under 35. The release states that DeSantis' drop is similar to that of Emerson's New Hampshire poll that showed former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie surpassing DeSantis by 1 point for second place in a state of statistical tie. Pollsters also found somewhat more shaky support among DeSantis supporters than among those for Ramaswamy. Almost half of Ramaswamy's backers said they will definitely vote for him, while only a third of DeSantis' supporters said the same. Meanwhile, more than 80% of Trump supporters said they will definitely vote for the former president. No surprise there. It's the cult. DeSantis, Ramaswamy, and several other GOP presidential candidates will have their clearest opportunity yet to stand out on the national stage at the first Republican primary debate next week, especially with Trump seemingly planning to skip it. More than 80% of Republican primary voters said they plan to watch the debate. The poll was conducted from August 16th to 17th among 1,000 registered voters, including 465, who said they plan to vote in the state's Republican primary or caucus. The credibility interval was 3 points. By credibility interval, they mean the margin of error. So this is, it's so interesting how back in 2016 we had this whole thing of who was going to be the front runner, who was leading in the polls for like a month, and then they were back to dipping down. It seems like the version of that that's going to be around this time is just having people in second place. Trump's got an over 40-point lead on both of these men, and somehow it's considered a victory to have 10% against 56. But this is definitely an improvement for Ramaswamy and more of an embarrassment for DeSantis because, like I said, you go back and you look at a lot of the stuff people were saying last year, even at the start of this year, DeSantis was supposed to be the guy, the one who was going to lead the Republicans into the next generation as the governor who won this big landslide election in one of the largest states in the country. But he waited too long, and then when he got in, he had this really crappy start and took positions on things that I think are kind of goofy. You're talking about repealing birthright citizenship, even though Trump already tried and failed to do it. So he really is just kind of, in my view, an uninspired candidate who couldn't live up to his own hype, and a lot of the other Republicans who might be lesser known, probably didn't have as many people pulling for them to run, are seizing on that opportunity. So and as far as the sledgehammer thing, I considered doing a video about it, but I chose not to because, like, anyone who doesn't believe me can go watch DeSantis versus Gillum in the 2018 Florida gubernatorial election. DeSantis is not a strong debater. He's just not. He's not someone who I would be afraid of at all in a debate, and Ramaswamy shouldn't be either. I mean, what is DeSantis going to get Ramaswamy on? Oh, you've never held office before. Oh, you mean like Trump? Oh, I mean, like, what does he have on him? Ramaswamy could easily say, well, hell, you were governor of one of the biggest states, and you're choosing to waste time on all of, well, actually, no, I'm going to take that back because he might agree with him on that culture war stuff, but he could say, you're this law and order guy who just wants to go after everything in this extremely punishable way, and you have no understanding of the more complexities of these issues, because at least we could say that Trump had the First Step Act. He could kind of he could sort of attack DeSantis to kind of get in Trump's graces a little bit more. because Trump has acknowledged him and hasn't really, referring to Ramaswamy, hasn't really gone after him in any conceivable way. Although I think that has more to do with the 40-point lead he has over the rest of the field and just him defending him. But yeah, it's a poll like this really shows DeSantis is on his way out. Like if he doesn't experience a better amount of polling by October, November, I could see him ending up like Harris, where he drops out before Iowa. I'm not even joking. Because, like, the fall from grace that he's... Remember, there are polls from last year that had DeSantis neck and neck with Trump, that had him, like, 3-4 points behind him. Now he's 30 points, 40 points. And we're getting to a point now where he's barely even breaking out in the double digits. A 10-point amount you get with a guy that nobody even knew about before this year. And Christie might actually, even if I don't think Christie's going to win New Hampshire because, again, he's way behind Trump, but Christie very realistically could end up getting more votes than DeSantis in New Hampshire, and Ramaswamy can end up getting more votes than him in Iowa. And if that's the case, there's really no justification for him to stay in this race at all. Because if he loses Florida, if he's stupid enough to stay until Super Tuesday, we're talking about career suicide. Like, that'll be the embarrassment of embarrassments. So yeah, I think this poll is good news for Ramaswamy, bad news for DeSantis. And again, it's another example of how not to run not even a presidential campaign, but a campaign at all. Never let advisors and people on the internet and political commentators and the rest of these different individuals convince you that you are such hot stuff when it comes to being a potential candidate for an office that you can just hold off on announcing. You can tippy-toe your feet until you get in, and then expecting for everything to go well. Because DeSantis really thought, if I just hold off until announcing, people will be fine with it. No, people in those months where it was Haley and the rest of them, right, it was like February to May, other candidates got in and they campaigned, and, you know, I mean, even Christie, who got in around the same time or later, is like doing just as good, if not better. And, you know, Ramaswamy got in really early too, and he's seeing the fruits of it. So, you know, this is really just awful for DeSantis. Like, if I were him, I would really step back and think, what kind of attacks are you going to have on Ramaswamy for your supposed sledgehammer? Because there is a way for it to backfire, and it's not even like, oh, Ramaswamy's this excellent debater, because I've only seen a few of his interviews, and it's not really like a back and forth thing. But you could very easily end up having it to where the voters are like, hey, I kind of like this other person. Why are you going after them so badly? So it's all just, I think DeSantis is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I think his best course of action would probably be to campaign some more in Iowa and New Hampshire, actually take an assertive stance against Trump. Don't, you know, like I said, you got to poke the bear. And at the debate, just keep a composed view of why you should be the one that people pick. Go after Trump if necessary, but remember where your polling is. Don't go after the person that is neck and neck with you that could end up slipping up and getting even higher. Go after the one that's at the top. Go after the one with the 40-point lead. You know, that's what I would do if I'm running against somebody and I want to make the difference. So this race is definitely, it's going to be much more interesting after next week. I'll put it that way. Things are going to go off in ways you won't even expect. I think we're going to see some people drop out when they don't make this debate stage, or they're going to try to linger, see if they can make it to the second one. But the trajectory of this race is going to change very soon, and I'm excited for it.